I don't know what's happened, Dalek. It's like everything is in the future, but I'm in the past. But I've already experienced the future through reactions. I'm PapaKenn, and welcome to episode, I think, 102 of Discovering Doctor Who. You might have noticed I'm a little bit behind on the reviews, but strangely caught up on the reaction videos. Yeah, about that. I can't explain it. It was just easier to do the reactions at the time, but now I'll finally be able to get all of the episodes in order, hopefully. But today, the episodes I'm going to be talking about is the two-parter, The Girl Who Died and The Woman Who Lived. And, there was some questioning as to whether or not I should review both of these as one because of the fact that each story is written by a different person. But I decided to put them both together because, well, I feel like they go very closely together, and later on in one of the farther upcoming reviews, I will be splitting up a two-parter into 2 episodes. So, yeah, there's just all kinds of craziness these days. But, enough of that, let's get into my favorite parts of these 2 episodes. Starting with number 1, Vikings! Their appearance in general, I absolutely loved. But, just the Vikings, and as short-lived as they were, like the powerful warriors of that village, I really enjoyed how the characters acted. And one thing I really liked, and I don't know, maybe that just all the characters weren't there long enough to really, for there to be any real conflict between them, but it seemed like, you know, even though they were these great mighty warriors, they still had respect for those in the village. They had respect for, you know, those weaker than them, the ones that were obviously left over after they were taken by the aliens and killed and turned into testosterone juice. Yeah, but anyway, yeah. So the Vikings were just a part of this I absolutely loved. And, you know, it definitely hurts that my favorite football team is the Vikings, so yay! Even though they, well, whether or not they're good is a discussion for another day. Moving on! My second favorite part of these 2 episodes were the Mire and not Odin. Which I guess not Odin can kind of be the Doctor, since he refers to himself as Odin and is obviously revealed to be a false god. But then especially, I don't know, just the way they really played off the whole Odin thing with the leader of the Mire. Like, I thought they did a pretty good job of having him portray this Odin-like character. I mean, from the very moment we see him when he appears in the clouds, all Monty Python and the Holy Grail style, and just, you know, the lightning effects and everything, and even his physical appearance, just the way they made him up, looked, I mean, he looked like he could legitimately play Odin, so I really liked that aspect. And then the Mire in general, just, I guess more so their legacy is kind of touched upon by the Doctor, because we don't really get to see much of their actual, so much of how they are great warriors, unfortunately, which I would have liked to see a little bit of, but just the way that they worked with the story and, you know, the idea of them. I don't know if they're a creature that's appeared in old Doctor Who episodes or not, but I honestly hope that we do see them again at some point in the future, because it would be great to see another warrior race, you know, having to butt heads with the Doctor. I don't know, maybe when the Doctor doesn't have, you know, all these other people in these special circumstances with which they beat them. But moving on from there, it's time for my third favorite part of these 2 episodes, which is a shielder, which I think is the right way to pronounce the name. But, and full disclosure, I haven't watched Game of Thrones yet, so I know that the girl that plays her, I think her name is Maisie, the girl that plays her is from that show. And I thought that, the performance was really good. There were a few, admittedly, a few scenes that felt kind of cheesy. I don't know if that was intentional or maybe I was just looking at it wrong, but overall I really liked the character, especially when it hit on the point that she is a loner. Like, she knows that she is different. She knows that she doesn't fully belong with the people that, with the people she loves in her village. But at the same time, she has such a great love and appreciation for the village, for the people in that village, that she just can't run away. Even though the doctor, her father, just so many people are telling her to run. And I don't know, I really liked that aspect of the character, which actually brings me to my fourth favorite part of this two-parter, and that is me, aka Ashildr, after she has lived for several centuries and apparently forgot her original name. But yeah, me was very interesting, and a very stark contrast to Ashildr as we knew her in the beginning, who was this very just imaginative, loving, and strong at heart character. Me is, very cold, calculating, I guess you could say. Just very, what's the word I'm trying to look for? Very cut off from the world, like mentally cut off, which makes a lot of sense, as they hit on in several points. It's like she's lived such a long time that in order for her to maintain certain memories, she had to write them down into books, and she has to read them so she can remember certain things. So yeah, that was one aspect of the character that I really, really liked. And yeah, so Maisie, whatever her last name is, I forget, in this role / both of these roles, I just thought she did a really good job, and it was just really enjoyable overall. Alright, so moving on, my fifth favorite part of these two episodes was the incorporation of Ashildr's imagination, especially during the fight with the Mire, or the trap that was sprung on the Mire, and how they incorporate, basically what Ashildr did. Just everything, the way she manipulated them through the mind control of one of those helmets, and brought forth the Drake, or the water dragon, whatever it was. That was just really cool. I really liked how they incorporated that, and it's something that I really hope that they do again in the show, because when it comes to imagination, there have been some, in the case especially with this episode, some definite highs, and then, although I kind of like the episode, you have examples like Fear Her, where the imagination and drawings and stuff were not executed so well. But I hope that, I honestly hope that it's a thing that we'll see more in the future, especially since we had an entire series dedicated, the first series of Matt Smith, Amy Pond, and Rory, where it's basically everything was sort of focused around this fairy tale scene, but just having more instances where the solution or the problem itself stems from the imagination, from someone's mind. I just think that there are so many amazing possibilities for that I would just love to see it utilized again in a good way, like it was in this episode. Or yeah, the episode which is The Girl Who Died. Yes. Alright, moving on from there, my sixth favorite part of these two episodes, and it's just very simple, but for some reason whenever Capaldi is translating for babies, I loved it when Matt Smith did it, but when Capaldi's doing it, there's just something amazing about it. Especially in this episode, just the way he emotes, the way he's translating for a baby sounds like just this amazing, beautiful poetry being said from a baby to its mother. And I don't know, just the way that was written was amazing. And again, Capaldi's performance of it was just astounding. It was like watching a Shakespearean performance, in my opinion. But yeah, I love that, and I look forward to Capaldi translating more babies in the future. Call me weird, but that's just how I am. But alright, my seventh and final favorite part of these two episodes was when Me appears in Clara's photo, at the very end of The Woman Who Lived. Just that scene right there. It's I expected it. It wasn't really unexpected, but just the way they framed it had this very, spine-tingling, just this very chilling feeling to it. And I loved the way they did that. Just all the way in the backgrounds. Like, and she's so far back in the picture that really no one would notice that except for, obviously, the Doctor. And I just loved that. So yes, when Mie appeared in the background, that was an amazing end scene. Just a perfect note to end this two-parter on, in my opinion. But alright, moving on from there, it's time to talk about some of my annoyances, and, you know, obviously let me know whether or not you might think these are nitpicks. I guess anything I say could be considered a nitpick, but again, they are legitimately things that just annoyed me about the episodes. Starting with when the powerful Vikings and Clara and Ashildr were taken onto the spaceship and they were trapped in that room, and like the one passage they had all those lasers or electricity or whatever. What the hell happened with that room? What the hell happened with the lasers? Because, I mean, you have two... I'm not saying that Clara and Ashildr don't have some strength to them, but they're trying to open a door that is apparently sealed shut at the last time we see them. And then the next scene, we see them on the other side, the door has been opened, all of the other Vikings have been turned into testosterone juice. What happened in there? How is it possible that in that small of a room that they were somehow able to survive that? It just doesn't... I don't know, maybe I'm just reading too far into it, but in my mind, unless the door just like flipped open at the last second before all the Vikings got vaporized, which is probably what happened, it just feels like one of those scenes that's a major plot hole, especially considering how far away from the door Clara and Ashildr are when they wake up. So yeah, that's one part of the episode that just drives me crazy. Just trying to get the picture of that scene in my mind. It's just like it's a huge jump. And again, maybe a nitpick, I don't know, but it bothers me. But moving on from there, my second annoyance with with these two episodes was the Knightmare. I mean, I know it had to go along with what Ashildr was doing at the time and showing how she was bored, so even though she was incredibly rich, she feels like stealing from people for herself, not even doing a Robin Hood exactly, but just stealing to steal. And yeah, just something about the Knightmare character just felt really lame to me. It didn't feel well executed. Whether or not it was well written, it's hard for me to say, just because I feel like the execution was rather weak. Especially since Ashildr was using, I guess, some sort of masking of her own voice to sound very deep and completely unlike herself. I don't think she was using any kind of technology. I could be wrong. But yeah, that was just something very bizarre overall. So yeah, didn't care for the Knightmare at all. But alright, my third and final annoyance with these two episodes, or more specifically, the last episode, The Woman Who Lived, is the lion alien thing and I don't even know how to pronounce this exactly right, the Leonians, his race. I'm fine with new races being introduced. I actually looked this one up and saw that this is the only time that the Leonians in any of their kind have actually appeared in the show, at least what was documented on the Doctor Who wiki. And it felt just like a really lame throwaway. I feel like they could have used one of the older races to use that somehow, or not even have it be this lion that has to wear a cloak covering its entire body and no one notices anything strange despite all this fur sticking out. I just feel like had they gone with a race that's, you know, more closely resembles a human or can make itself look like a human, I just feel like that would have made more sense in a way, or it would have, I don't know, been more interesting, because I didn't find that character or any of the race that we don't see actually interesting in this episode. I honestly feel like that's the biggest downfall of the episode, is the villain. Yeah, just that villain, because I don't really consider me a villain in this episode. My grammar sounds ridiculous when I talk about her, doesn't it? But yeah, so yeah, those are my 3 annoyances, and obviously all of my favorite parts of the episodes. Let me know yours in the comments down below, both the positive and the negative. One thing I will say, even though The Woman Who Lived was a companion light episode, I don't know, I found it was done really well. And in that way, Ashildr/me was sort of the companion in that episode overall. I'll talk about my overall thoughts here a little bit more in a minute, and I might actually leave that last part out because it didn't make much sense. Or maybe I'll leave it in, I don't know yet. But moving on from there, well, as you all know at this point, I have already watched the rest of the series up through the series finale, not the Christmas special just yet. And so as far as questions go, really any questions I would have been answered at this point. And even a theory like, well, I did write down a theory originally, but at this point it doesn't mean much. So, and just keep in mind, you know, obviously spoilers. I said that at the beginning of the video in text. But my theory that I wrote down originally was that Ashildr will play a large role in Clara's remaining episodes. And I was right. I was very much right in that regard. For those of you that might not have seen the episodes yet but didn't feel like skipping past my little spoilers warning, yeah, I won't go into more detail than that. But, so yeah, no questions or theories this time around, probably for the next few reviews. But hey, that might actually allow these videos to be a little bit shorter. So moving on from there, I do have some quotes of the episodes. And I did decide to go with quotes from each individual episode, starting with The Girl Who Died. The quote I picked from it is from the Doctor. And it's one that... It's one that struck a note with me just because of how I have personal thoughts about things like deja vu and premonitions, things along those lines. But the quote is this: "People talk about premonition as if it's something strange. It's not. It's just remembering in the wrong direction." So, I mean, obviously that's not real. I mean, unless there's some sort of, you know, super sciencey thing I don't know about. But I just love the idea of something like that. That premonitions are there not only just for a reason. It's not like, you know, it's not so much even a psychic feeling like some people think premonitions are, but it's remembering in the reverse direction. Like, it's a memory from the future coming back to you. I don't know. It sounds completely ridiculous when I try to say it. But again, I just love the idea of that and those kinds of things. But alright, my second quote of the episodes, which comes from The Woman Who Lived, is actually a quick little exchange between the Doctor and Ashildr/me. And it goes like this: "O Ashildr, daughter Weiner, what happened to you? You did, Doctor. You happened." And the reason why that quote stuck out most to me, or so much to me, is because she's echoing something that so many companions, even people besides the companions, people that are attached to the companions, have some sort of relationship with them, people have made similar statements. And this time, rather than someone's life being cut short or someone's you know, role in the show being cut short, or the Doctor leaving them in the end, this is someone who was affected by the Doctor in a way that has caused her to be essentially immortal. And I don't know, anytime that theme pops up, I find it really intriguing, especially in regards to who the Doctor is and what he does. Yeah, because it's like he, as it kind of came around in the last series, he tries to be a good man. But sometimes, no matter what we do, no matter how good we try to be, no matter how much we try to help and work towards the greater good, sometimes good isn't what comes of them. I'm pretty sure that made sense. Alright, but again, those are my quotes of the episodes. If you have any of your own, please do, again, leave them in the comments down below. I'd love to hear what some of your favorite lines might have been from these two episodes. And since I don't really have anything else, might as well talk about my overall thoughts on these 2 episodes. I would say that they fall into this very strange middle ground. Now, if I were to talk about them individually, the girl who died is by far the stronger of the 2. The woman who lived has some strong elements, but also has some really strange elements that just kind of make it fall flat a little bit in the end, in my opinion. But overall, I would say combining the 2, they fall into kind of a strange middle range, but aren't negative to a point where I wouldn't watch them again. I enjoyed both of these episodes, even though I don't feel they were the strongest of the series that I've seen so far. A lot of those are coming up very soon. But yeah, so overall, they were pretty good, but left a lot to be desired, especially as a pair, but with the girl who died being by far the stronger of the 2. So yeah, I'm sure I repeated myself like 5 times in that, so I apologize, but you know me, I tend to repeat myself anyway. So, yeah, time to move on from there and get into some of the upcoming episode reviews. I got another 2-parter coming up, which will be the Zygon Invasion and the Zygon Inversion, which was definitely an interesting pair of episodes, and 2 that I'm very much looking forward to in the very near future. So everyone, please do leave me your thoughts down below, and just to remind you that yes, the giveaway entries are still going on. I will provide a link down below to the short video explaining what's going on. Go down there. There have been some updates to the giveaway, obviously with it being extended through the end of this year. So go check that out. Put in some more entries if you want to, and hopefully we'll have a nice big giveaway video at the beginning of the new year. And also there's going to be some more news coming out about that as well. So yeah, and I don't have my Sonic with me, so today Rob will help with the outro. Alright everyone, I'm PapaKenn, and I will see you next time for the next Discovering Doctor Who. Alonzi!